Okay, welcome to IDEA Statica 10.1 release webinar. I'm happy that I can see here so many IDEA Statica users and friends today. My name is Martin Rolny, and let me also introduce you my colleagues, Orsolia and Vid, who will show you an exceptional volume of new features and improvements which are coming with the latest IDEA Statica 10.1. We are using GoToWebinar, and because there is quite a crowd here, we put everybody to listen only mode. All of you can see on the right side the ribbon to set up your audio and type in questions. We will be answering them continuously and also at the end of the webinar. Okay. Sorry, I just skipped the slide. So what we have prepared for you today. First, I will briefly go through the highlights and installation of the version. And then Vid and Orshi will show us new features in steel and concrete. And finally, we will also talk about new beta and cloud applications. Before we jump to the live demonstrations, I would like to pick up the highlights of the version. Okay, so in the steel, we have prepared for you a batch process calculation. That means that you can calculate all project items just by clicking one button. We have updated several manufacturing operations and also created a new one. We call it a negative volume. We have implemented a new geometrical and material nonlinear analysis for the hollow core sections. And we also improved the generation of the mesh for these type of members. And we have added a new code, Chinese code, and improved the Russian code by the check of concrete block. In the concrete, we have a new fire resistant check and the option to export the document to PDF or the Word in RCS application. In the detail, we have prepared a new dispersed reinforcement and crack spacing and the option to load or add the load on an imported curve from the DXF file. And we also have quite a new improvements in the interpretation of the results of reinforcement in ULS checks. And I shouldn't also forget about the new beta application, IDEA Statica Member, and improvements in Project Viewer. We will show it later. Now I would also like to mention a new way and improvements in the installation of the version. So the new IDEA Statica 10.1 is not overwriting the existing version. That means that the installation of the version 10.1 don't override the existing 10.0, and you can use both of them. So that's all what I wanted to talk about for now. And so Vitku, could you please tell us what is new in the steel?
Thank you very much, Martin. Let's continue with the steel features for version 10.1. Let me change the presenter and I will change the screen. Great. Right now it should be all okay. So let's start with the new features. We already talked about the batch process. New batch process is a feature which can calculate a lot of project items defined in one project. You can create a study easily for different thicknesses, for example, or with different analysis types and calculate them all in one push. We will show this in a real example in a few minutes. We also improved a mesh process at the intersection of circular hollow members. This will help to give you a more precise results because the mesh size is now even more similar. A new feature, geometrical and material nonlinear analysis for hollow section joints, is implemented, and this feature will increase the quality of the results especially for hollow section joints. We implemented a new design code for Chinese design code, new codes for plates, bolts, preloaded bolts and welds are implemented, also detailing for bolts, and if we talk about anchoring, so concrete block resistance are checked. We also implemented typical steel grades, bolt grades and Chinese cross sections into the libraries. Russian design code was implemented in a previous version, but for the version 10.1 we implemented concrete block resistance according to the Russian design code. Also, we prepared for you a brand new manufacturing operation. This manufacturing operation is called negative volume. By this you can create a solid volume, and this volume can be used for special cuts for the members. You can see really nice examples on the pictures. We spend a lot of time and effort by updating your BIM links. Right now you can see the table of updated BIM links for steel products, and I can point out that all Autodesk products were updated to versions 2020, and for example advanced design also 2020, and new Tekla structures 2019. Let's jump right into the practical demonstration. I will show you the new batch process and the negative volume usage. Let's start with the easier one. Let's say I prepared this kind of joint, and I will copy it because I want to create a study, and I changed something. Right now I want to study the stiffness at the second connection item. In the third item I want to calculate another analysis, capacity design, etc. In this way I prepared several project items, and I want to calculate them. For example, during the night, I don't want to spend my time here. So all these project items previously defined can be now calculated in one push by this button, Calculate All. We truly believe that this will help you to improve your design process. And the new manufacturing operation, let's say I have this kind of topology, and I want to connect these beams together by cleat operation. And that's a typical one. But as you can see, there is a clash of the members at this top part. Yes, I can use a notch, but it's not so nice. It will create a not so nice cut. So I will use a new manufacturing operation. It's called negative volume. It's the last manufacturing operation from the whole set, and I use the previous created one. For this operation I need to define a shape cross-section, and this shape, if I set it here to this position, I can use this shape as a cutting method. With this, I can cut the beam B1, and the result is a really nice, smooth and clean cut. This is the end of the practical demonstration for the steel part, and I will pass the word to my colleague Orsolya.
Thank you very much, Vid. I will share my screen now. So let's deep dive into concrete, what we have new for concrete in IDEA Statica 10.1. Maybe the biggest improvement and the most awaited one was the fire resistance check, which is now implemented into our application RCS. This fire resistance check is according to Eurocode, according to the tabulated data method. It can be used for beams, columns, plates, walls, basically all kinds of sections that the common engineer wants to check for fire. The resistance can vary from 30 minutes up to 240 minutes. And I will show it on an easy example how to set everything right in RCS to receive a correct fire resistance check. The next improvement in RCS was that there is now an export into document or PDF file. So we completed this option for the export, and now we have it available in all of our concrete applications. Another improvement was implemented into IDEA Statica Detail. This is the dispersed reinforcement for walls. This special feature, dispersed reinforcement, can be now used for wire fabric reinforcement. What it basically does, it recalculates the wire fabric reinforcement area into the section of the wall to an equivalent rectangle, and basically it increases the speed of the calculation by up to 20% according to our measurements and experience. And I also want to add that the results may differ by 1 or 2%, but since the dispersed reinforcement is a model with dispersed reinforcement has a slightly lower stiffness, so the results will be by 1 or 2% higher. So we stay on the safe side if we use this dispersed reinforcement type. I will also show this on a practical demonstration. There is a new way of displaying results for dispersed reinforcement. Also will be part of the demonstration. And another new feature is that now you can load a concrete detail, a concrete wall on an imported curve from DXF reference. You can import a line load onto a polyline, which can be either a polyline or a spline from DXF, and you can apply it onto your concrete wall. This can come handy, for example, for diaphragms. If you want to apply a line load as seen in the pictures, it can be like a shear flow from traffic load. Another improvement is the crack spacing, the display of the crack spacing in the results for crack check in IDEA Statica Detail. It enables the user to investigate the crack spacing within the entire detail. And we also improve the display of the results for ultimate limit state for reinforcement. It is not only nicer, but it is also easier to interpret the results. Also will be part of the demonstration, the practical part. Here you find the list of the current beam links for our concrete applications for version 10.1. And I also want to mention IDEA Statica IOM, IDEA Open Model, which is available for 10.1, also for concrete. It's a complete API for both the finite element analysis softwares and CAD softwares. and all our beam links are now based on this IOM. With the help of IOM, everybody can develop a link with IDEA Statica. If you want to know more about this interface, please visit our GitHub page, and there are basically all the documents that you need to create a link with IDEA Statica through this interface. So let's go into the practical demonstration. The first example will be an example of a T-section in RCS, where we show the fire resistance check and the new export options. And then we go into IDEA Statica detail and show all the new features on a wall example. So I am now in IDEA Statica 10.1 in the concrete tab, and let's open the application RCS. I will create a new project, and the design code stays Eurocode. National annex also can be general Eurocode. And here you have now the option of fire resistance. Let's check this checkbox. And fire resistance check is available for all the section types. So 1D reinforcement sections, it can be staged or just reinforced concrete, or it can be also a 2D section. So we have this code check available also for plates and walls. I will choose a one-dimensional section, and it will be a beam type. Let's create a cross section. It will be a simple T section, 600 millimeters high, and I will go to the design member in the navigator. And what is important to set here in design member for fire resistance check, we go into flexural slenderness and define the clear distance between the faces of supports. This also has an impact on the results of the code check. Let's say it's 4 meter distance. And you can notice that we have a new tab, fire resistance, here. So here you can set up all the important things to the fire resistance check. You can see that is according to tabulated data, and the resistance can be set from 30 millimeters to 240. I will choose the resistance 60, sorry, not millimeters, of course, but minutes, 60 minutes. And fire effect can be from 3 sides of the beam or all sides. I will choose 3 sides, and we can also set the floor thickness, how thick the floor above the beam is. This also has an impact on the check results. I will set 0.1 meters. And let's go to the next step, to the internal forces. Here you can notice that we have a new row for fire resistance. It is really important to set how big internal forces will act during a fire. Eurocode recommends using 70% of the ultimate limit state effects. So let's set the table according to this recommendation. Let's say in ultimate limit state, I will have minus 100 kilonewton normal force, 50 kilonewton shear force, and 100 kilonewton meter bending moment acting on the beam section. I will also set the characteristic combination and the quasi-permanent one. I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. And the same applies for bending moment. And the fire resistance, since it has to be 70% according to the recommendations from the ultimate limit state, I will set up minus 70 kilonewtons for normal force and 70 for bending moment. Shear force is missing, so 35, 70% of the 50. All right, internal forces are set. We can go to the reinforcement. Let's reinforce this section with a template. Stirrup distance can be 0.2 meters. Okay. We can go right to the results and let the application calculate. Notice the new tab of fire resistance here in the end. The first thing we see are the load effects acting during a fire in a table, the value of the code check, and if it was all right or not. All the detailed results are explained in the tables below. The application controls, for example, the beam width, the minimum slab thickness, the actual distances of reinforcement from the surface which is exposed to fire, and so on. All the explanations can be found down here. So this is everything for the fire resistance check. It is really easy to set. Basically, the settings are really similar for all structure types. If it is a column, wall, or a plate, it doesn't matter. You have similar settings for all these types. Let's go to the report, where we can see that we have two new buttons here up in the ribbon. We can now export our report into document and then open it, for example, in Microsoft Word and add our own comments, or we can save it as PDF. So that was everything for the RCS improvements, and let's go now into IDEA Statica detail and show what we have new there. So I will launch detail and create a new project. I will choose a wall template with 2 openings. Let's edit the geometry just a little bit and support also. So I will go to the loads, and the first load case, which is the permanent one, can stay as it is according to the template, and I will edit the second load case, which is the variable one. I go into the load impulses and edit the intensity of the line load acting on the top edge. I will delete the line load on the left edge, and let's now add a line load onto an imported curve from DXF. So I will click on add the new entity, adding a new line load, and the definition will be not on edge, but by polyline. And here is a new button for DXF import. Let's pick the DXF that we prepared in advance, and you can have polyline or a spline which will be applied onto the wall or other type of concrete detail. You can have basically any shape of line load that you wish. Combinations were created according to this template for ultimate limit state and serviceability limit state 2. We can go to the reinforcement. Input edit of reinforcement. Here the first group is wire fabric reinforcement, and you can notice that we have a new option, dispersed reinforcement here. If I check this checkbox, I activate the new functionality, the new feature, and the application recalculates the area of the wire fabric into the section of the wall, and this will result in faster calculation, in reduced calculation time, and we will check out the improved results for this type of dispersed reinforcement too. Let's edit the other groups of bars just a little bit. Oops. and the inclined bar also should be lengthened. All right. We can now check out the results. So let's launch a calculation. We will also show not only the dispersed reinforcement, which is now can be displayed in a little bit a different way than the regular reinforcement, but also the crack spacing, which is a new improvement in IDEA Statica detail. And another thing is that generally the interpretation and the display of results for reinforcement in ultimate limit state check was improved. So now it is easier to read, and the interpretation is also much more clear, in my opinion. So now we have the summary of results in front of us. Let's go into the strength tab, which is one of the ultimate limit state checks, and the reinforcement. I pick out the wire fabric reinforcement, and if I, for example, display the stress in the reinforcement, here you see that for dispersed reinforcement, we can display the stress in the direction 0 and direction 90 degrees. The convention can be seen here in the picture, and this is a little bit different display of the results for this type of reinforcement, or you can choose no, and then you will see the results as for regular wire fabrics, as if it was created from horizontal and vertical rebars. So you can also notice that the display of results was changed a little bit. Now for compressed reinforcement, we use the red color. For tension reinforcement, we use the blue color. And how much the rebar is stressed or strained is also seen by the intensity of the color and the thickness of the line too. So let's go into the crack check, where you can see that we have a new column, SR here. It is the distance of the cracks, and in the top ribbon you can switch on this SR button and display the crack spacing over the entire concrete wall or in the proximity of a rebar or group of bars like here. And there is also a legend where you can see how far the cracks are according to these colors from each other. So we have shown the dispersed reinforcement interpretation of results, change, crack spacing, and we also imported a load on a curve. So thank you for your attention during the practical demo, and I would like to give the word back to my colleagues to continue with the new features and improvements.
Thank you, Uršulja, for the word. And let me take the presenter. Great. So let's continue with IDEA Statica Member, the new beta application. IDEA Statica for structural steel. IDEA Statica gives you programs to solve two blank spots: connections and stability and buckling. We solved the first with IDEA Statica connection, and now we have the answer for the second. IDEA Statica Member, the brand new app. Member is new application for IDEA Statica Steel product. What does this application do? IDEA Statica Member is a new application for analysis and code check of stability and buckling for steel members, beams, columns, diagonals, frames, etc. And it's a beta application in this version. This application is using the unique CBFEM method from Connections, and it uses it to IDEA Statica Member, and it provides 3 types of analysis: materially nonlinear analysis, linear backlink analysis, and geometrically and materially nonlinear analysis with influence of the imperfections. Beta version, which is available in 10.1, is available for all users with any steel license, automatically for free as a part of the standard installation setup. Only you need to fill the contact to join the beta testing. We will collect the feedback for the new improvements for the version 20, which will be released next year in the spring. If you start the IDEA Statica Member beta version, the pop-up window will appear, and you can read some basic info, and you can find there a link to IDEA Statica Member page where you can find all stuff like tutorials, sample projects, videos, etc. To launch the application, type in the name, surname in your email, and we will ask only once. So after that, after confirming this form, there will be no another pop-up for you. And right now I want to pass the word to Martin. It's your turn.
Okay. So now I would like to go through our online applications, just to be sure that I'm sharing my screen. Yeah. Okay, it should be okay now. Okay, so let me give you the latest update about our cloud applications, which you can find on our web page. Yes, and you can directly use it. As you see, we have the Connection Lite, Effectivity Calculator, and Project Viewer. And today I would like to mention and talk about the new improvements in the Project Viewer, where we have a new workflow for detailers. You can download and install our new plugins for Tekla Structure, Advanced Steel, and Revit, which can easily can be implemented into these mentioned applications, and it can speed up and easily improve the workflow in your company. Because with these plugins, you don't need the IDEA Statica license, but you can easily export your model from these CAD applications into the Project Viewer, which is running online, and then you can by this download button get the IDEA Statica file, the project for IDEA Statica connection, which you can send to your colleague who can continue with the design of the connection and check, as you know, in IDEA Statica. So let's again just repeat this workflow. So this project viewer, as you already know, enables the export into the DVG file and also into the IDEA Statica project file that you know maybe from the previous versions. But what is new now in the version 10.1 that we have these plugins into the Tekla Structure, Advanced Steel, and Revit. And these plugins can easily export the modeled connections from these applications into the project viewer, which is running in the cloud, and then you can export the project and sell it to your colleague, to structural engineer, for the design. So that's all what I wanted to talk about, and now I will like to also check the questions which you asked during the whole webinar, and I will just pick up a few of them. And the first of them, which I will ask Vít, is that there was a lot of questions about new geometrical and material and nonlinear analysis, which was added into the IDEA Statica connection. So could you please give us more info about that?
Yes, of course. Let me take the present and I will show you some more interesting info about this. Well, if we talk about the geometrical material nonlinear analysis, you can find it in the code setup. There is a geometrical nonlinearity checkbox. You can check it out or in and use it. Basically, it's set on by the default for every joint with hollow sections. And if you want to find another info about this feature, you can go to resources, to our webpage, and then to resources. And in this connection tab, there is a release notes tab and version 10.1. In the release notes for version 10.1, we have dedicated a few words about this feature, and you can read really nice information about it, how to deal with it, how to deal with older joints from older versions which are calculated without this feature, and how to solve issues about this. So you can find everything at our resource center.
Okay, thank you, Vitko. And the last question would be about the detail, and we had the questions about that new improvement about the curve which we can use. So the questions, which type of the curve can be imported from the DXF to IDEA Statica detail? So Orsi, can you tell us more about that?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Martin. So you can import now a curve from DXF, which can be a line, a polyline, or a spline, and you can import it into IDEA Statica detail and apply a line load on it. Of course, the line load can be in all the directions that was previously available for the regular line loads. Now it will be applied onto this curve, which is, as I said, a line, a polyline, or a spline defined in your CAD application. If it is enough like that.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you all for to attendees that you visit our webinar today, and I'm also would like to close it now, and we are looking forward to see you in some next webinar again. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice day.